writing equations in point-slope form. Now in the last section we did, have problems where if we knew the slope and if we also knew a point, well, we could definitely come up with y equals mx plus b. We could work our way towards that. But here we're going to have something that's called point-slope form. So it's the shape and appearance of it. So if I remind you of what standard form looked like, we got one way we can set this up. Slope-intercept gives us a second way we can set this up. And now we're going to have something called point-slope form. So as we make the symbols more clear, we're going to rewrite this equation that you'll see here, y. Now this is y without a subscript or anything. So that means that once we finish, we'll keep this letter y in there. From this y, we are going to subtract some point that we're given. So this is just basically giving us the change in y here. And then over on the other side, we're going to have m, which is the slope. And again, this x doesn't have a subscript, so it will stay that way. And then we'll subtract x sub 1 there. And since we're talking about symbols and all that business, we should probably label what we know. This is the slope, and then this is a point. So if we're ever given a couple points, we just choose one of the two that we would want to use. We just got to make sure that it matches up. You'll notice there's no x sub 2, y sub 2 here. And since we'll include this on a graph, this means that we will know that we have some line. And I guess, we won't show the y-intercept or anything, so let's just start over here at some point. And then we'll start over here at another point. And we'll connect through here. Now we know that anywhere on this line we would have some x and some y. Now this would not be given to us. This just means we know we would have some other location. But this is the value that we would be given, x sub 1, y sub 1. Now it doesn't really matter the way I've shown it. It just means that the problem is going to give us some point, and then we'll also know the slope of the line. So that's the idea there. Let's see it in action. I think it'll be more clear than just the formula by itself. So in these problems, we're told to write an equation when we are given both the slope and a point. Now, as I've taught you in the past in many of these videos, if we're told to write the point-slope form, well, it's nice to set the map up first. So here's the equation. Y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. We know that the y is going to stay generic. The x is going to stay generic. We'll keep parentheses. And now let's see what else we can plug in. The slope, we're told, is -3. So I'll write -3 where I see m. And then we are told that it also passes through this -1, 5. So below there, go ahead and write x sub 1, comma, y sub 1. So that when we go ahead and plug in minus a -1, we're clear with where these values are coming from. So that when I go and I write y minus 5, same deal here. It's clear that this 5 got placed there. So my notes tell me that we have something in point-slope form now, where we have a slope of -3 and all that kind of business. The only thing that remains to be done is to simplify. No simplifying happens on the left. But on the right, we'll simplify by showing x plus 1. And even if that feels strange to keep it in parentheses, we will keep it in parentheses because that is the style, the arrangement of point-slope form. And that's no different from when we did standard form, and it felt maybe different to have the x's and the y's on the left. We'll make this one an OYO problem. You can go back and re-watch how I did the video if you think you need it, but I'll put my work up in 5 seconds and talk through it somewhat detailed. I'll use the word map, meaning, first rewrite the formula to show your map. Then you got to just find the different values to plug in. -8/3 for slope, 1 for x sub 1, -4 over here. And on the last one I didn't bother putting it in parentheses. And the reason I didn't put it in parentheses was because I thought it would be confusing over here. But over here you might want to include parentheses. If you did jump to y plus 4, that's also okay too. I don't mind that at all. So if you didn't rewrite the equation, get that fixed. If you have like a sign error or anything as you've plugged in, get that fixed. And then make sure you simplified. But simplifying in these problems, that does not mean that you distribute. So avoid that temptation to distribute and solve for y all over again. If you end up solving for y and getting y equals mx plus b, that means you're kind of going through this a little bit like a robot and trying to do the same thing that you've grown comfortable doing. So take your time, make sure that you know why we're doing this the way we're doing this, and that's because we are setting things up in this new form to you called point-slope form.